Welcome back to Flashpoint. In 2014, a revolutionary study showed the Queen City ranked last in opportunities for economic mobility. The so-called Chetty study, named after the project's author, painted just a grim picture of the limited opportunity to escape poverty here. And local leaders say 10 years later, there is still a lot of room for improvement. Joining us now is Winston Robinson. He's the founder of the Applesauce Group, working to promote generational wealth and home ownership in the Black community. Winston, good to see you.
Hey, man.
So let's begin with economic disparities here in Charlotte. How big of a problem is it right now from where you see it?
So the weight of racism, a systemic racism, it's physical. You feel it. This is something that is very much a part of your everyday life. So it isn't just the disparities we see that are so surface level. It's the weight of the actual system and how it impacts your life. So that is so deeply ingrained. You know, we can do things to remedy certain outcomes. However, we still have to make sure we dismantle the system of sentiment.
Because it's the systems that are part of the pervasive problem, beyond just an individual or a cultural thing. It's
right.
A system is hard to tackle and address. 10 years ago, the study came out from Harvard, ranking Charlotte bottom of the list. I think for some people, it was a shock. For a lot of other people, it was not a shock at all. Have you seen any improvement since then?
No, I see, one thing I will say is I appreciate, specific to Charlotte, how we responded to the Chetty study. You know, I don't know what the 40 through 49 did as far as the list, but Charlotte, we tackled it, and we came up with the Leading on Opportunity Council. And I think, well, I believe wholeheartedly the compass, the product which was produced by that council, can be transformative. So I appreciate the approach that Charlotte has. And again, this is work that we're in for the long haul. So for me to say I see changes now, I don't even want to create that false sense of hope, but I appreciate the drive towards that change.
What do you see as next steps then to make this actionable and real? And address some of these in a meaningful way, not just to make you feel good, but a meaningful change.
I'm a call a thing guy. You know, if we're going to tackle this, we have to face it, and it's not a comfortable conversation. However, it also shouldn't be as tough a conversation as we make it feel with the tension and awkwardness. These are a reflection of systems that have been around since 1619. You know, we weren't here. So we're just responding to the conditions that were created around us. Therefore, I think it is up to us to do something about it. And it's not personal. So, you know, let's just dismantle the nonsense.
I think a lot of times when people that look like us have this conversation, it can feel very personal. And it's not. To your point, this is a history. This is a shared history that this country has gone through, and we got to talk about it to get through it, because
right.
To otherwise avoid it doesn't address the issue.
Right.
Another study came out, UNC Charlotte, that said that the median net worth of white households is about 10 times that of Black households. Explain to me how that unfolds in the city of Charlotte. What does that look like, and how does that affect the city of Charlotte as a whole?
So again, just to what that means, the wealth gap.
Yeah.
If you think about it, Black people on paper, via policy, we have only been able to participate the way other Americans participate in the home ownership process since 1968. My father, who is 76, was an adult in 1968. Yeah. The options he had for home ownership before that were in areas that were red line, where our federal government said, now these are problematic areas, banks, you might not want to give loans here. We made a decision as a nation to subsidize the middle class. It excluded a group of people. That group of people was us. So again, when you have a legacy of other groups being able to participate in a system to generate and build wealth for so long, then now we can kind of do it. 1968 is on paper. Practice may be the early 80s, but still right now there's a sentiment in America that if black people are in a space, that is enough to devalue the land, the property value. That's enough to shrink the property value. And that's a sentiment.
That brings me to the idea of generational wealth. You touched on it in that remark, but when we talk about home ownership, one of the biggest indicators of generational wealth comes from home ownership. And when you have a group of society that's not getting to partake in that, or at least hasn't over the years like other parts of society, it has a profound impact.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. And what that, so I'll give you a personal story from my own journey. When my wife and I made the step to take our first home, we had to be scrappy to, build our down payment, gather our down payment, save a lot, sacrifice. Didn't take a lot of good dates during that period. And while we were vetting lenders, one of the lenders was a white guy, and he said, "Why don't you just ask your parents?" And I was offended. I was like, wait, what? How dare you? Because they work hard. They're still working, late in age. And I didn't know that was a thing. I've never seen that or heard of that before where, you just get a down payment from your loved ones. I'm like, what? Yeah. So I was taken aback, blown away. And those are the small, simple things that we never talk about, or we don't have the discussion. So those are the hurdles as well as other factors that create the disparity in home ownership, therefore the wealth gap.
Quickly, tell me about Applesauce Group. What are you guys trying to do?
Oh, Applesauce Group. So Applesauce Group, we are...
Explain the name for one. Explain the name. It's like medicine when you explain it.
Absolutely. So the name came about when I had a 2-year-old son. He's 6 now. During the pandemic, I wanted to kind of change the course of my life to do something more meaningful. At the time, my son had to take a medicine that he hated, and we gave it to him through applesauce. And that was just, again, the old parental trick. So the foundation, the business model is Applesauce Group will show you the greatest time of your life with these festivals, with experiences, with events. However, on site, we have resources that will meet the needs of community. But again, it's not like, so the idea too is I would believe you more if you tried to convince me less. I don't want you to feel like you're walking into a timeshare presentation. Yeah. So yeah, all organic, good times.
Sort of like the medicine through the applesauce.
Absolutely. Next event, April 27th. April 27th. The Great West Side Fish Fry Festival.
Where is it at?
West Complex, 1600 West Trade Street.
All right, perfect. Winston, thanks for coming on.
I appreciate it, man. Thank you.
Good to see you. Next on Flashpoint, some big changes on the way for two of Charlotte's most popular neighborhoods.